Would you look at that? Look what I got on right now. Elite Sports branded apparel. Is it because I work for this podcast? Is it because I created this podcast? Yes, to all of those questions and more. It's also because this sweater saved my life in Dallas because I was so cold. Thank God I brought this in my jacket, in my bag. Super warm, super comfy. Most of all, just squaring around. So you can support the show today. Go to elitesports.com, shop their full list of athletes too. It's not just us on there. Use code SQUARE at checkout. Elitesports.com, use code SQUARE. The college football playoffs have ended. And if you are not a Michigan Wolverine, you're probably not very excited with how your team ended up, especially if you're a Husky fan. I'm so sorry for you guys' loss. But you can still shop the greater lineup at Home Field. Home Field's got all the products you need. They got teams all across the country, not Texas State. But we're hoping to change that soon. So shop homefield.com. Use Square at checkout. What should we get started with first? The fact that work is nearly killing you and I, or Michael Mann's 1995 crime thriller Heat?
Hooah! How about the fact that I kind of have this microphone set up like how I want it? That's kind of crazy.
That's pretty good. You're like a little one of those podcast bros. I love stick mics. That's what I've learned about myself, like in my career and in my like professional life. Anytime you see a reporter and they have like a lapel mic, just know that in my brain, I'm like, that would sound so much better if they had a stick mic in their hand.
What does this sound like? Does it sound okay?
Yeah, it sounds fine.
Well, does it sound good or does it sound fine?
It sounds fine. Didn't one of our good friends, Melissa Monroy, tell you that you need a better mic anyway?
Did she?
Yeah, remember she was like talking shit.
How was this? Is that better?
Oh yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, wow. What'd you do?
Change the setting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's like almost like a it's almost like I'm what should we call it? It's almost like I'm a I don't know, like a radio guy or something.
Fuck.
Look at that. Shit. It's only taken me 2 weeks. I finally have this.
The only thing is it's a little hot. We're peaking just a little bit.
All right, let's do this then. How about that?
I did again. Keep going.
Is that better?
No, it's
Is it still
it.
How about that?
Oh yeah.
Is that better?
Oh yeah. Now you're talking at your normal volume and you're
all right.
Yeah. Look at that.
I know, dude. It's like we finally figured it out. We finally
only took nearly 80 episodes for us to get it right.
Well, the funny part is that like, will this possibly be the last one that I'm doing from Studio Zimmel?
Whoa.
Yeah, we could be doing it from Studio Stone Oak here pretty soon.
Bandera. What is it? The cowboy capital of the world?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's fire. Yeah. Anyway, work has been odd. Last week I was on the night schedule and not my night schedule. I was 2 to 11. And this week, Andrew had a weird week where he was in Austin for like basically the whole week. And now he's moving out, moving in.
I'm moving back to San Antonio.
Running
finally.
From the tax man.
Dude.
So we've been both just struggling. And that's why it's been hard to set up an interview with the softball team. Aside from the fact that I forgot that team just plays like 6 tournaments to start out the year. So, yeah, it's just been tough recently to get them on the podcast. That's why we're not talking to them this week. And then we were supposed to talk to Maroon and Golden, talk about the collective stuff. But then they had some scheduling stuff. And we're like, you know what?
We had scheduling stuff and then they had scheduling stuff. And now next week we've been circling each other. Now next week we're gonna do it.
We're like dolphins, We're doing like a mating dance right now.
some orcas in the sea. Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah. But I did this is where we can plug your Valentine's Day deal right here.
Oh yeah, and I'm on TV again, everybody.
That was good. I know.
True recovery takes time. Therapists say the average adjustment period for a major life change like this is about 6 months. In the meantime, take time to love yourself. I'm Jakob Rodriguez. Happy Valentine's Day.
I do like how you're like on TV again, and I'm like, isn't it this like the 3rd time?
Yeah. No.
So good on you, man.
The 6th or 7th time I've made local airwaves as a journalist. Yeah.
There you go.
But
We're almost
the third time I've done it in the sense that it's like my third on-air debut at a station. Which is
got you.
good because not a lot of producers get to do that, you know? And they
No.
basically just let me off the bench every time.
Once you get
5'7" from Texas State University.
once you get 10, you get a free sub, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you got a couple more, you get the punch card.
And I knew it was gonna happen, Jim. As soon as I turned this story, everybody was like, "Hey man, great job, great job. When's the next one?" I'm like, "Oh my God, can't you guys just let me enjoy this a little bit?"
What is the next one gonna be? St. Patty's Day? Jacob Rodriguez finds the leprechaun.
I have no idea, dude. But I just the reason we're recording this podcast so late, besides from all the personal turmoil we've had, is like I was checking my schedule and I was like, oh man, I'm producing 2 shows a day for like a week coming up.
That next week?
No, it's the 29th, 2 weeks from now. Yeah, that's how I end February. Oh boy.
Yeah, that's tough.
You're
Do you like that?
Yeah.
Studio Zimmel, brother.
Studio Civil. I'm surprised that doesn't happen more often.
I locked the door.
Mom, the meatloaf.
Yeah.
Ma, the meatloaf! Fuck!
We got a lot to talk about, Zim. Let's get to talking to it.
Tired of winning the tailgate, but losing the games? We can't help that. But we can tell you what the hell is up with each team and what's going on across sunny San Marcos. Texas State fans, get on your feet. You're listening to Squarin' Around with Jacob Rodriguez and Andrew Zimmel.
Pardon the interruption. I'm Andrew Zimmel.
Welcome to Squaring Around, everybody. I'm Jacob Rodriguez. Let's address item number A1 on this sponsored by A1 Steak Sauce. The basketball team is good again? Question mark?
No, stop
No?
it.
You're not ready to
No.
say that?
I'm not
The
ready to
reason I
say
didn't
that.
say anything about it last week was because I wanted the take to live or die. We are 2-0 in years of the podcast where we've said this team is dead, erase the basketball court, get rid of Strand Arena, and then somehow, some way, this team lives. Last year, they were the first 7th seed or higher to make the Sunbelt Conference semifinals for the tournament. This year, they are not yet in the tournament. I think they play, next week? What is it? Basketball. Here we go.
So, here's the deal. Last year, they just got hot at the right time. This year, there's still 4 games under 500 in conference play and 3 games under 500 overall.
They still have so many games to play.
They're not. Well, yeah, it's the month of February. Like, we're halfway through the month of February. I'm not willing to say that they're all of a sudden good again. I will say that they've been playing better over the past 2 weeks, but is it in part because of who they have beaten, right? We go through the list of games that they have played, and they don't have that many games left, Jake.
They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, they got
Ahead of
6
the
games
tournament,
left.
which is March 5th. And I had a fever dream actually last night. I was like, oh shit, do we have time to talk to Coach Johnson or Coach Z? I feel like we haven't talked to women's basketball at all this year.
I haven't really talked much about him either. So, okay, you go through the games that they've won, right? Okay, they beat South Alabama.
Mhm.
They beat Southern Miss. Those both games were at home. They beat App State, and then they beat Ball State at home by 8. What is the common thread there? They're all home games, A. And B, they're going to go on the road and play South Alabama today. They're playing tonight, 7 p.m. So let me pump the brakes. Let me beat the Jaguars twice in 1 month, and I can be like, oh, wow, look at this win streak. I just think home games, they played better defense. They're holding teams, I think, under like 75 points per game over the past couple weeks.
Yes.
That helps winning. But
they are currently one of 3 4-8 teams in the Sun Belt. Currently the 11th seed if the tournament was tomorrow. Just a mere month ago, Zim, these guys were 13, 14, worst in the West, worst in the everything. Worst in wins for sure.
Do you think that Coach Johnson has gotten them to play better? That's my part. Like, if that's like, is it, has he gotten them to the point now where you feel confident in them? Because I don't.
Well, I think, like late season wins, do you credit that to coaching or do you credit that to like just the team clicking together finally for whatever reason? I think early season, if you're picking up win after win after win, you're like, oh, coaching's undeniable, or this recruiting class is untouchable, you know? For some reason or another, for the past 2 years, we have not had any guy that we recruit basically come out firing on all cylinders because they've been riding the bench because of an injury or because of some transfer portal issue. I didn't even know prep basketball was a thing before we ran into Colton Benson like a month ago at the game. So yeah, I don't know. It's odd. It's an odd situation. And then it feels like I saw this take online from one of our lovely Texas State viewers. So that was you. Claim it down below. But like last year's season was the same season that we should have been having this season, but instead we're having it this season because we don't have Mason Harrell or some of those other seniors.
What?
Yeah.
So the success or the lack of, therefore, that we had this season, we should have had last season?
That we're having right now. Yes. Or not having.
That doesn't make any sense. The reason we had any sort of success last year was because of Mason Harrell, and partly because of the seniors that we had. We're struggling this year because we were missing that senior leadership, and we're missing interior defense and rebounding. This is what we've been hampering on for the whole season, is that like, hey, we don't have any big men down low. We're missing guys like in years prior, you could count on 7-8 rebounds per game. We don't have that this year.
That's such a low number.
Like for a point,
counting on almost
rebounds per game. If you have one guy, let me rephrase it this way then. In a basketball game, you're going to have what, like 40 rebounds, right? Give or take. Hopefully like a 40, 45, 50 rebounds. If you have one guy that's getting 8, 10, 12 rebounds, and then like they're averaging like 8 a game, that's big. But I go through this roster, Jacob, is anybody averaging like more than, let's say, is anybody averaging more than 7.5 rebounds per game? If you set that as the over-under. We have one guy averaging 8 rebounds per game, and that would be Morgan. He's averaging 8 rebounds per game. But then you go through the rest of the roster, and there's nobody else averaging more than 6.5.
Right.
So
Tyrell Morgan?
Yeah.
Tyrell Morgan? Is he still?
Who's played 2 games.
Oh, he's back?
No, that's the thing.
Okay, well then
you got one dude who's averaging more. Technically, you want to say like more than 7.5 rebounds per game, but nobody else is doing that. And you can't win basketball games if you don't have interior scoring or defense, and we don't have that this year. And we talked to Coach Johnson. We heard the press conferences. You have clipped him. We played him before, and he's like, "Oh, it's a youth thing. There's injuries." He seems disappointed in his guys every time we hear him talk. And our one game that we've been able to go to see together, what was the takeaway? They didn't have any defense.
Nothing.
They were letting guys score.
Yeah.
They were letting guys get to the hoop.
In a normal year too, like we've dominated Little Rock, had very hard trouble against the other red team, Louisiana.
Arkansas State?
No. Oh yeah, Arkansas State. My bad. Little Rock was several decades ago, it feels like. Arkansas State, we've dominated in the past. Had a lot of trouble against Louisiana, last year's Sun Belt Conference champions. But as I said 2 weeks ago, the Sun Belt is still far from a basketball conference. Why are we having so much trouble in anything? Like I don't understand why Texas State, it's so hard for us to succeed on a more routine basis.
And here's my question, right? So this is the first year we've said this is the first year with all of TJ's guys. And he has a lot of, we called it the goodwill credit card. It's got a lot on the goodwill credit card. He has a ton of goodwill, 2-time coach of the year, if I'm right. Am I correct?
Yep.
2-time coach of the year. He's got a plenty of leash to play with here.
I think it was back-to-back years that he might have
won. Yes, this is a bad season. Any way that you look at it, this is a disappointing season. Now, you do bring up a good point. You say last year they were a 7 seed, they played in the semifinal. Is that an anomaly? I think so.
Oh
And
yeah.
I understand it's college basketball. I understand that anybody on any night in the Sun Belt really can beat anybody. It's a
Mhm.
very there aren't a ton of teams, in my opinion, that are so dominant, especially on the men's side of things, that are so dominant that they are going to run through a tournament.
I don't want to say it's a 50-50 league, but it could be a 60-40, you know?
I would say, yeah, 60-40 feels fair. It feels fairish. Um, I don't know. If you said to me today, Texas State gets out of the first round, like what are they the 11th seed right now? So they'd be
Mhm.
playing what, the 4 seed, the 5 seed,
3?
the 3 seed. So the ones get a bye. I thought the ones and twos get a
Oh,
bye.
you're right. My bad. So the one right now would be App State, who we beat, what, 3 nights ago? Something like
Yeah.
that. Everybody was losing their shit. Very cool. But as we said, this is a 60-40 lead, or this is a 60-40 league. So are you really impressed by that? I don't know. How
And
low
like
can
the
we
other
go?
part,
How low can we go?
the
I
other
guess
part
I
too,
wish we were just tanking at this point.
the other part of it too is that like, are we denying ourselves like happiness by like not being more excited for this team? I don't know. You think
Well,
so?
I don't know if we're denying happiness because for the past 2 weeks, you and I have been looking forward to softball pretty much.
Yeah.
Uh, our true loves of this podcast.
The spring sports.
The spring sports. Aside from track and field, utter domination, you know? Like, what
Well,
do we
track
have
and
to
field too. Track and field are pretty damn good.
haven't I don't know. For the past 4 years, it feels like we have not had a lot to look forward to basketball wise. It's like 2020 was like a peak for the basketball
Mm,
team where everybody was like, whoa, Bobcat madness. And then everything just kind of fell off a cliff. 21, 22, 23. Now
for
we're in
men,
2024.
for
Yeah.
men, I think so. For men, for sure. For the women's side of things, I mean, they had a solid squad last year, very senior dominated squad last year. They played in the conference championship game, which yeah, they won the regular season, which counts for something. I mean, doesn't count for personally me, but because we don't get a
They hung a
bid.
banner on you.
They did, but we don't get a bid to the NCAA tournament if
Yeah.
you are the runner up. You got to win the conference if you won an NCAA tournament bid, and I think that's the standard that we should hold both of these programs to. Is
Especially
to
because even if you win the season tournament and you get stomped out, like the Sun Belt is not a basketball program. Like, league.
and that's frustrating to me because like on the men's side of things, I kind of get it, right? Like we talk football and it's 53 men and it's a lot, right? Like there's 40, I think 40 scholarship athletes. It's a lot, but you can find diamonds in the rough. You can find transfer portal stuff. You can go and find, but for basketball,
Foosball now
the,
there's like 80 athletes that are on
the
scholarship.
are there really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's like 111 guys that you get or something like that.
The talent pool for basketball in the state of Texas, which is primarily where Texas State recruits, I imagine, right? Like from what we look at, it's
Yeah,
just
man.
a smaller.
For some
it's
reason,
just a,
Oklahoma for a very short second with Caleb Asbury, who ended up going to Oklahoma State, and
and
then
Mason
Harrell.
Harrell, yeah,
And not his brother for whatever reason.
the talent pool in the state of Texas for basketball, like if you are legitimately a good to great D1 basketball player, it seems that you just go to other schools. And I don't know why. I don't know what the holdup is. I don't know why Texas State isn't getting every couple years a dime in the like. Okay, we get Mason Harrell, we get Nigel Pearson, we get guys who are legitimately good. And I've said like the best player in Texas State would be a 6-man at Texas. A role player at Baylor or Tech.
If that.
Like and that's I don't
Like
understand
our
why,
best guy right now, I would say, or the one I like watching the most is Caden Gums. I guess you could argue it's Brandon Love or Jordan Mason. But we have a true freshman right now starting sometimes at the point position, and he's crushing it with a full sleeve of tattoos. It's very impressive to watch.
But would he get playing time at, let's say, Houston?
No.
Would he get playing time at, then that's kind of my thing. Is that like should we hold Texas State to a standard of like you need to have like legit baller? Like I mean, KGT, Nigel Pearson, Mason Harrell, those are great players for Texas State. But when you put a guy in the league like Jeff Foster 27 years ago now, Like,
Mhm.
you know, you want a little bit more, I think, from the basketball program on the men's side. Is it wrong? I don't think
I
so. I
agree.
think that you have to hold them. I think you got to hold them to a maybe it's an unrealistic standard too. Because if you only have been to the NCAA tournament once in 30 years, you know, like maybe our expectations are too high.
Here's
But then
a
again,
stat for you. You were wondering
yeah,
how Caden Gums fared against the University of Houston. He played for 31 minutes in that game, 7 points in 31 minutes.
yeah. Houston, top three
Not
team in
great.
the country though.
Top three
So
team in the country. Yeah, I was trying to when I pulled this up, I was trying to look specifically if he played when we played at Texas this year, but I don't think he did. So out for whatever reason. UTSA played for 28 minutes. He's averaging probably like right around 30 minutes a game at this point. True freshman, by the way. True freshman.
great. Which, that's somebody you can be excited for. Going forward though, and winning against App State this past week is nice, but I'm still in the skeptical camp for sure.
Yeah, only 9 points a game right now for
Yeah.
Caden Gums. But he's a mover and a shaker. I don't know. It's really interesting to see. That's the nicest part that we've had is like, oh hey, this guy can play immediately. That's great.
Oh no, there's little things that you can get excited about, but I just think that like
I thought our boy
overall,
when I wrote that write up about this team for Dave Campbell's, and I got to talk to Coach Johnson literally for 2 hours. Maybe I should just release that shit as a podcast. Would y'all be interested in that if we just did our raw interviews sometimes that we don't upload here that I just use to write my articles or some bullshit?
no, I don't think so.
Anyway,
The background.
yeah, the background, the deep cut, squared around. But I was really high on Chris Turner. He's big frame dude, former Troy Trojan. I was like, oh, this is perfect. We lost Nate Martin, but we get Chris Turner, and
Yep.
it hasn't worked out for us yet, you know. So
No.
I don't know what needs to click for this team. I guess it is clicking, sort of,
It's
kind
getting
of.
better. Again, last week defenses looked a lot better, but I need to see. I'm not asking you to win every game here on out. I'm just asking you
No.
to be higher than an 11 seed going into the tournament. Because if you're an 11 seed, I'm going to just focus on baseball and softball.
Are you buying stock in this team yet, or no?
No,
You're not buying basketball bonds?
not in the men's team.
Yeah, I'm treating this team sort of like Bitcoin. I have some money in it, but I'm far from putting a second mortgage on my house to try to buy an entire Bitcoin for this team.
Gotcha.
I'm trying to ride the wave, maybe make $100 like I did during COVID, where I was
Little
putting
funny
in like
money.
$40, getting 60.
Little funny money action. I hear you.
Yeah, man. On the women's side, Zim, what's going on with that team?
Coach Z 200th win. Huge news coming out this week, man.
Huge
Big
news.
win. They got a road win.
Big win. Another horrible graphic.
They are doing their best. We brought this up. Jacob, throw the graphic up.
Yes.
What are we doing in the graphic department here? What is going on? I understand that you want to get these up quick. I get that. Nobody QC'd this. Nobody checked it out.
Well, here's the thing. At some point, Coach Z was going to get the 200th win, right? You could have made this a month ago, 2 months ago, last week even, maybe, or 2 weeks before, whatever. She picked up her last win, I guess. What was it? Tuesday, Monday, whatever it was. Doesn't matter. Either way, I'm saying some more planning could have been done for that, perhaps. It was not like,
the graphics is cheeks, pun intended. 200 wins though. This makes her just another milestone for Coach Z. She is by all accounts the best women's basketball coach that Texas State has had. Ironically enough, she's also the coach that I have been maybe the most critical of over the past like 5-7 years. When it comes to just really pressing like, hey, where are we going as a program? I think this year, all things considered, right? When you come into the year losing Kennedy Taylor and a lot of that senior leadership that they had from last year's previous team, they lost their leading scorer and leading rebounder. The fact that we're in this position with mostly transfers, I feel okay. You compare it and it's not fair to compare and contrast women's basketball and men's basketball because they're in two completely different places. Men's basketball has dealt with the injury bug, I think, a lot worse than the women's team has. But talking to the coaches watching and stuff like that, I have said to myself that, you know, a semifinal appearance would be a big spot for this team, considering that, like, I think they have one or two returners that played like actual minutes from last year's squad. So I think they're in a good spot. The Coach Z 200th win, though, clearly is like the cherry on top for this team.
We are just below the men's team in standings for the women's team, and just a game under actually in the same conference record. So 12 seed right now for the women's team.
So you're saying I'm too harsh on the men and not harsh enough on the women?
I mean, they're basically the same, right? One game separation, one seed
But
separation.
it feels different. Here's
It
the
does.
thing.
It
feels different
it's
because
like
I
that
think
meme with the guy with the human resources one.
yeah. It feels different because for the women's side, like we knew they were gonna not struggle, but we knew there was going to be a step back from last year's squad. When you lose that much talent, when you lose that much seniority and leadership, like you are going to be missing parts of that. And unless you get a bunch of transfers who immediately click and like work like football did, you're going to struggle that first year. Shot making has been a problem for this team. You look at the field goal percentage, you look at the I would like to see the advanced analytics of the contested 3 versus open 3 shooting percentage. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I am too. Maybe I'm not critical enough.
You know what I'm starting to judge the Sun Belt on is how easy or hard it is to find individual stats for team players. Then I'm like, okay, well, this conference is obviously not geared towards basketball. Football,
Jeez.
you can find these guys VO2 max pretty much on shit like that. I have also not heard anything, speaking about the spring stuff, I have also not heard anything about a pro day yet. And I know that's coming up. I told you guys, me and Zimmel, I mean, who effing knows, honestly, if our work schedules will kill us before we even get to a pro day. But past couple of weeks have been hard. So if we have another one like that, we'll definitely not make it.
I don't know. I want to go to a pro day. I'd love to go to the pro day, but like I don't know
The
how
thing
that's
about
gonna-
it, and the
Huh?
thing I said last year is, what are we gonna do? Watch guys work out? Like,
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
it turns into. We're
the
just going.
underwear Olympics.
We are basically influencers who cannot record also most of the time. Or if we could, they kind of look at you and they're like, I don't know, you're going to tank this guy's career for us, Jacob? And you're like, yeah, I will. I'm going to put this on the internet forever.
Yeah, no, I get that.
My bad.
Whoops.
Whoopsie.
Didn't know I was supposed to do that. Yeah.
Am I the one trying out for the NFL? No.
Who's having a pro day?
I
guess Holloway.
Brian Holloway. Who else? Alonzo Edwards Jr., I want to say. There's a few guys in the
Those
mix.
are the two that come to mind, but I don't know.
There's some guys.
I
Yes.
will say going to Austin, there was a couple conversations about Texas State and their
Yes.
recent records, their recent recruiting faux pas.
They're talking about that on the radio in Austin.
Not on the radio, but like off the air in between the commercial breaks. One of those with the show within the show type of deals. It's like, so what's going on down there?
I hadn't
Which is never good.
I hadn't seen some of our sports guys in a while, and then I was on the night schedule last week, so I got to see a few guys I hadn't seen in probably a month or two. And they're like, Jacob, what the hell, man? I was like, what? You think I'm recruiting these guys? I have nothing to do with that.
It's like if San Marcos had like a TV station or a radio station, you gotta imagine.
And they do.
They don't have a TV station,
Sort of.
do they?
We feed into the PBS or whatever, and that's what Bobcat Update is. Like, it's like the city channel.
That's not the same thing. It's not the
Sort
same
of.
thing.
Almost the same thing.
It's not the same thing.
It's as close as we can get without buying a real tower.
Then we should be doing a lot better job.
We should buy a real tower.
We should. Well, I was just saying the reporting should be a lot better. We should be having like, why don't we have summer classes? Like
Dude,
we should be having.
I gave a standing offer to SJMC. I was like, you wanna let me come back teach some TV? Sign the check, baby.
Nah, you don't want to do that. That
No.
check. What I think the most you can get paid is like $60,000.
Hey, that's life changing over here.
God, our lives are awful.
I know. Take us off food stamps. Change our lives.
I got it. Yeah, my EBT card's coming in next week.
Yeah.
Dude. So anyway, I'd like to think that if they had
Shout
more
out
legacy,
women's basketball.
I'd like to think that if they had more legacy media or blogs or whatever, that like there'd be more scrutiny on the recruiting. But
You know
it's
what?
just
That's a good conversation to be had because you're right. Like it's not like, well, the Statesman doesn't exist anymore. Let's keep it
no.
real.
Yeah.
So nobody from
And there's
Austin,
nobody in Austin.
nobody that covers the
Zero.
Longhorns in the fall covers Texas State anything in the spring until the baseball team or softball team gets hot.
Who is this? KVU?
Yeah, KVU and then
Yeah.
KXAN. Oh, who's the other dude? Don? No.
No, Don's in San Antonio.
My bad. Felipe? Who's the
Bob?
other dude? Someone.
Yeah.
Whatever.
There's
Yeah.
The thing is that they have, in my opinion, they have plenty of guys in Austin.
Oh, you know
Plenty of
when the next amount of big eyes are going to be on this program?
Bowl
for
game?
the spring game for the football team.
No, I don't even think that.
You don't think so?
No,
We had a fair
I don't
amount of
think
people.
so.
Well, everybody and their freaking mom was on the sidelines. Them. You
Here's
sure?
the deal. If we do what we've done in the past and do our spring game the same weekend as Texas,
Oh,
no, you're not gonna get anybody. You're not gonna get eyeballs.
still do that, and we
That's
still do the press conferences the same time as Texas do
it's
during the
insane.
week.
Yeah, but because like when you're bad, you can get away with that, but when you're good, like you are just shooting yourself in the foot. So maybe that's something we change in the future. But I think that there's plenty of that's the frustrating part. I think there's plenty of journalists in Austin because of the two, is it like we both made that drive. Is it easier to drive south down 35 to San Marcos or north on 35 to San Marcos? Which would be easier as a commute, do you think? To go to a 10 a.m. press conference or a 2 p.m. kickoff or whatever?
2 p.m. kickoff is definitely easier driving from San Antonio to San Marcos.
Okay.
Oh, I guess. Let's say we were a TV station based in Waco and trying to cover the Bobcats.
No,
like what's the worst time to go through Austin? Is that your question?
No, I'm just saying from an Austin media standpoint, I think it would be easier for them to come down and cover the games because I think that their TV range is in San Marcos. Like I'm pretty sure that they're in the San Marcos is in their TV strat. Mm-hmm. They have plenty of journalists. There's plenty of MJs or MMJs. There's plenty of sports dudes who, what are they doing? Like there's only a handful of college. There's Texas and like St. Edwards,
Texas.
Like Jackson,
Houston
like,
Phillipson.
I'm just saying. I'm just thinking to myself. I'm like, the fact that Texas State has gotten so little coverage is kind of, it's honestly not. It's their fault. Like 75%, 25% is just on the media not being like wanting to go do it.
Yeah, I was like, what else plays in Austin? I guess SAFC. Are they still? Who gives a shit about MLS soccer? Not me.
I care. I like Austin FC.
Spurs play there. Not now. Like in 2 months.
Yeah. I just don't know.
I get like
I just
2 games at the Moody Center.
I just think to myself, I'm like, Texas, like, Texas State, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? When it comes to and like, look,
but you're gonna travel down to write about a 3-9 women's team and a 4-8.
No,
I wouldn't. But
here's my thought. Like, if you were going to have a Longhorn blog, and there's a billion of them. Like I was talking to somebody this week. Texas has the most media coverage of any Division I school, which I kind of put my nose at a little bit at, but it's true. Like, how many blogs and podcasts and YouTube channels suck at the teat of Texas? Like, it's a ton. It's a ton.
You're a recipient of this. How many more are there now after a national championship run? Because you saw what happened to the TCU space when that happened. And now you've been a T-shirt Longhorn fan your whole life. What's going on there?
So that's a good point. There wasn't, but I'll say there wasn't a ton. There's just not a ton of TCU content point blank, period. Right? There's two legitimate like websites, and there's like a handful of podcasts that are listenable to. And that's not even counting mine. Like, I'm not putting Hypnotoad in there at all. I'm just saying that there's like only like 5 or 6 that actually matter. It's also one of the smallest institutions in the state of Texas when it comes to enrollment. You know what I mean? For a Division I school. So like
Tuition there like $120,000 a year or something stupid.
it's the most expensive school in America.
Oh my God.
Well, I should say one of. It passed Harvard this year as one of the most expensive schools in America.
That's nuts.
Yeah. So anyway,
Shout out Cowtown.
but so there's just not like a lot of clicks on that. But for Texas, it is like a ton. Like there's a ton. So I would be, if I was a person who was making a Texas paywall site, right? Why would I not want to start putting Texas State stuff up and just hope that, like, hey, maybe we don't beat, Horns 24/7 and Orange Blood and the Statesman's paywall and all these other places. We're not going to get as many clicks on our stuff as them. But what if we had like Texas State too, and we just did Hill Country Division I football, and like we throw a Baylor blogger and a Texas State blogger, and we call it a day. I just think that would be like pretty easy. I'm trying to also low key tech Austin Media. I'm giving you free advice, and I guarantee you can find a college kid that will do it for $25 a write up.
I was thinking about this too, that last year we started around the baseball season, right? This is kind of our bread and butter for the podcast, is the off-season stuff. But specifically, you and I found great success in covering baseball and softball. And so, like, why haven't, like, there been like more of that? Like, if we were just a baseball softball podcast, number one, our lives would probably be a lot easier. We wouldn't have to worry about a lot of things. But since we choose,
we wouldn't have gone to the bowl game.
Oh, that's true. Well, I guess we should have showed up.
Hey, it's the two baseball guys in the press box for the bowl game.
It's two baseball guys squaring around. We would probably call it something different too, like running the bases, or I don't know.
Why? No, I would keep it squaring around, and I would just put the Boko on the base pass.
Drinking the diamonds. Oh, shout out my new favorite follow on Twitter. I was already following, but I guess they rebranded Durag Boko. Really like that account. Have you seen that recently?
No, I haven't.
It's funny. I like it. Shout out Durag Boko. Yeah, I don't know. Basketball, good job. But also, I don't know. I guess I'm far from going, wow, tournament favorite, sleeper,
I'm just like, let's get the season over with.
Yeah, like, I thought we were a lot closer to the end too. Like, I was like, can we wrap this up, man? What's going on?
It's March. That's you got to just look to March. I hope for success. I mean, I like the coaching staff over there, but I just want to,
of course.
I want to sim to the end of the season and just get ready for next year.
Yeah, that's the thing about. Oh, look at us. Speaking of the sports that we really love, let's talk about softball first. 5-1 on the year. They've played
hot start,
a tournament and a half at this point. Oh, they're playing Sam Houston right as we speak at this very moment in time. So they're playing the Texas State tournament, and then they go to Arizona next week. Are we ever going to be able to talk to this team? Ugh. Oh, maybe on Wednesday. Maybe. I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, sorry about the dog barking.
5-1 on the year. No, I can't even hear it.
Okay.
5-1
on the year.
Looking pretty good. Colton was saying that, looks like we have another Jessica Mullins. I guessed one name. He told me another name. And I was like, oh, never mind. I haven't seen this team play yet. I barely understood the game of softball last year. We haven't talked to Jessica or Sarah Vanderford like we promised. TBD on that.
So Colton texts us because that's our link. That's our guy.
That's our guy. Our plug.
Colton texts us and goes, "Hey, I think we found our next Jessica Mullins." And I was like, "All right, great." But also, I do want to make it like I want to make this like a point. State has done this really cool thing where they will never get two aces on the team at the same time. Like
Yeah,
they
you're right.
refuse. They refuse to find. Like I was going through it. Randy Rupp and shit, what was her name? There was like Randy Rupp
Oh,
and
King.
there, yeah, Megan
King.
King. That's right. It was Randy Rupp and Megan King. And then Megan King and Mullins was a freshman. And now it's been Jessica for 3 years. Now we had another one.
Yo, it's crazy. It's the rule of two, the Sith rule of two. There could only be two Sith lords at the same
Dude,
time.
it's just like, why can we not like I understand like innings. I understand, can we not get two aces on the roster at the same time? And we talked to Coach Woodard last year, and we're like, hey, remember when Jessica had like injuries and we like struggled? Do we have like another ace? And she's like, well, we don't want Jessica to be like the number one and then she was. So it's like, can we get like one more person? Because I want Jessica Mullins' final season to be the most successful one that Texas State softball has ever had. And that's not going to happen if we only have her to pitch. We need more talent in the pitching staff around her because hitting was really good last year.
And what's going to happen too is the same thing that happens with the volleyball team, except like softball has had a much more
Except we talk about them.
consistent. Yeah, that's true. And we interview the coaches. My bad, Sean Hewitt. I was going through some stuff at the time. Totally missed that end of the season. Anyway, but like softball has made it more times in the last 5 years to the NCAA tournament than volleyball. So, but they have the same issue that volleyball has, that they get slated to play in the Austin Regional, So they're going to play one of the better teams in the country, a top 10 team easily. And then I think we also played A&M, and then who was the other one? Ball State or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Famously Texas A&M.
Yeah, so we played A&M, Texas, and then something blue. Were they the Pirates?
Creighton.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Whatever. Doesn't matter. That was our win. We lost to A&M, or we almost beat them with a walk-off home. Didn't end up happening for us. They ended up walking one out on us. Sucked. I was devastated for that team. But what's interesting was seeing like how they were managing like when and where they were not going to play Jessica. I think she played obviously against UT. We lost. She started A&M, and then we took her out early because we're like, we don't know if we're going to have to play in an elimination game tomorrow or not. That ended up happening. So
Yeah, we talked about it at the time. We were like questionable, like pulling her, and it's kind of Monday morning quarterbacking a little bit about like, oh, you should have done this or this. But end of the day, she is the most important player on the team.
easily.
Probably. Easily? I don't know, easily. I think she's the most important player on the team though.
Yeah. I forgot how good Piper Randolph was too. I was watching some highlights from, I think she had like a walk-off win or walk-off homer last year too. I was like, ooh, pretty good.
Yeah. We need more highlight videos from Texas State softball.
Oh, you know who's crazy good too? JJ Smith. That was the Texas transfer from last year. Gone to Texas State.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Let me ask you this, because now again, I don't want to bring up the Longhorns all the time. Do you think the move in the SEC is going to make it easier for Texas State? Can I like give my pitch? So
I guess we become the other Texas school, right? Like if you don't want to be in the Big 12, if the Big 12 is just basketball school conference now /
I guess
okay football sometimes.
I think that they go basketball, baseball, football now.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I think like when it comes to like them compared to like other Power 4 conferences, I think it's like basketball is going to be number 1, baseball is number 2, and then football.
They gotta win a freaking NCAA tournament this year. That's the Big 12 has a lot riding on the basketball tournament right now.
Yeah, I mean we got the most but they have the most in the top 25, so maybe. But here's the deal. So Texas goes to the SEC. And maybe they're successful, maybe they're not. Maybe they're middle of the road. Maybe they're Ole Miss or Mississippi State in not the sports that I'm not saying the sports that don't matter, but I'm saying like the sports like baseball, softball, volleyball. Do you think that makes it easier for Texas State? Because if they're not potentially going to the national championship, if they're not potentially going to the NCAA tournament or the super regionals or whatever, right? Do you think that maybe though that talent goes elsewhere, maybe it trickles down to Texas State, goes to other places, and like the talent pool that Texas has like kind of held on to for the past, I don't know, 100 years, kind of breaks up a little bit?
Mm. Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's already hard for us to recruit as it is, you know? So I don't know how the SEC move shakes it up for Texas. Um, but it definitely doesn't help like our recruiting spots
Well, that's what.
already.
No. I'm asking if it would, because I think it would.
I guess so. I don't know.
Because
Like
it
for the
like
people who, I don't know. No.
let's say Texas State. Let's say Texas State continues to win Sun Belt championships and go to NCAA tournaments,
Okay.
and Texas is losing
Oh,
SEC
cruising.
championships and is middle of the road, or having struggling. You know what I mean? Like in these sports, in like we're talking men's and women's basketball, softball, volleyball, right? Like, do you think that opens up the door a little bit for Texas State potentially to maybe get some of these Central Texas recruits who you could go to Texas and play Ole Miss and Mississippi State and Florida, or you could come to Texas State and play UTSA and play Texas and play some of conference teams potentially, but you'd be competing, you'd be winning a bunch,
Yeah, if I was Coach Ricky Woodard and I needed to sell somebody on coming to Texas State, I was like, we play like 3 back-to-back home tournaments a year. Your family can see you play all the time.
Yeah.
And it's true. And also, by the way, I want to remind everybody that the Sun Belt Conference softball tournament is playing in sunny San Marcos this year. So a lot of fun to be had still in the postseason for the Bobcats looking ahead.
Oh, for sure. Before we put a bow on basketball, I'm gonna ask you, did you see this video of the recruit that we had?
No.
Okay. I'm gonna send it to you. You need to post the highlights here, because we're gonna talk about a player who's a high school senior, Texas State commit, Sania Burks, a 75-point triple-double on senior night.
Holy shit.
75 points, 19 rebounds, 15 steals.
That's what I was.
Okay. Absolutely went off. And that is when we talk about like what's coming for Texas State women's basketball. This is part of the reason why I just want to kind of sim to the end of the season, is stuff like this. That like we are going to be good. We'll be really good next year. But we just got to get to next year.
What's up with the single leg sleeve? Does anybody know what that's about? I've seen a lot of people rocking that recently. Like
Yeah.
just one leg sleeve. Anybody?
I like the one leg sleeve.
It's cool. I would feel lopsided though. I'm literally just watching a highlight tape right now. That's pretty sick.
This is pretty good. Will Butler finally caught up on y'all's pod from 2 weeks ago about hoops sucking ass before they went on a run. And at like 30 minutes in, when you start talking about how our alums were talking to us by background music, Mix started playing Optimistic by Radiohead, and I haven't had a song and a podcast line up so perfectly in a minute. That's pretty good. I was just saying the alumni.
I just listened to that album, Radiohead's Kid A. I had never heard that album before, but my brother's obsessed with Radiohead. He thinks they've made the most significant contributions in the past like decade, basically, to modern rock. And I was like, that's a very big claim to make. But I'll give it to him. Whatever. It's an incredible album. If you guys have a chance, Kid A, Radiohead.
Yeah. Thank you to all the listeners.
That's where that music comes from, by the way.
Thank you for all the listeners who tune in and listen every week.
No,
because it does help the pod.
It's really nice. I appreciate it. Let's talk about something everybody who listens to us wants to talk about. Baseball, baby, coming back to Bobcat baseball. Is that what we're calling it? Bobcat baseball stadium field. Bobcat ballpark. My bad.
Bobcat ballpark. I was going to say.
I said that last week. I was like, Bobcat baseball field. And I was like, it's not called that. What are you fucking saying?
The Paul Goldschmidt Field. That's what's coming.
Soon to be Paul Goldschmidt Field. They're still making like renovations to all that baseball stuff. Remember, baseball's supposed to get a bunch of stuff. Softball's supposed to get some locker rooms. They're both supposed to share this kind of like indoor pitching setup, and it's going to be really sick once they get all the money for it. So if you were at their first pitch dinner, you helped fund some of that. Next year, I'm speaking into existence. Squaring Around will have a sponsored table over there, and we will be swagging it out with the best of them. And by the best of them, I mean Steve Trout. The baseball team, meanwhile, is hosting Youngstown State. There you go,
Youngstown State.
Are they good at baseball?
I know who they are, so that if that means anything to you.
I have no idea.
They're fine. Youngstown, Ohio. Youngstown, Ohio. They're fine. I mean, I don't know. I'm not like the biggest fan by any means.
Another MAC school in the Conference USA. I had no idea. I just literally just looked at their website right now for all of this shit. Texas State's gonna whoop the dog shit out of them, I think. Because Slam Marcos is back in full effect. I guess I shouldn't say that because I thought Grand Canyon University was just like University of Phoenix or something, and they absolutely destroyed us. It was horrible
So
last year.
here's the deal, right? So okay, you gotta. I'm not saying like a easy starter, but like to start the season, Youngstown State comes to town. That's 6 p.m., 2:30, and 11 a.m. on Sunday. Are you gonna make any of those games?
No, I will not.
All
No.
right. How about next Tuesday when TCU comes to town?
Ooh, that could be
Top
fun.
5 team in the country.
Damn. That'd be fun. That TCU mini series that we play a home and home with them, I'm pretty sure this year again too, has been really interesting. The last time these two teams played, Steve Trout got tossed for whatever reason, and we beat them both times, I'm pretty sure, last year.
So then we
No,
have the Round
we
Rock Classic. The Round Rock
One-
Classic, which again,
Went 1-1 with them. My bad.
people in Austin really excited to talk to me about the Round Rock Classic. Kansas, Kentucky, Washington State. None of those teams really get me too excited. Kansas last year wasn't very good in the Big 12. Kentucky, whatever. SEC school, they're going to be fine. Prairie View A&M.
Carbach.
That's on Tuesday, the 27th. Then we start the month of March playing 3 of the best teams we're going to play all season.
And we will be there.
We will be there. No,
in
we will not.
Houston.
Astros Foundation College Classic. Are you going to that?
I'm going to that for sure.
Really?
Yeah, I will be there.
Okay. Which game are you going to go to?
I'm gonna go to all of them. Oh,
Really?
I don't know if I can make the Houston one. 11 a.m. That might be a little bit.
11 a.m. on Friday? Yeah. But maybe the Saturday 3 p.m. and Sunday 3 p.m. for LSU?
I think I can make it. We'll see.
So the schedule out of conference, really good, one really good tournament and one good tournament. I think the Round Rock Classic is going to be good. I don't think it's going to be. It's clearly not. You're not playing LSU, the defending national champions, or Texas, a team that is trying to get back to that national championship pedigree. Conference play this year, man, it's going to be weird. Of course, you got like Louisiana. That's going to be the rivalry game. They play at the end of March. April, A&M comes to town in April as well. Texas State and Texas play a double, like a home and home on Tuesday and Wednesday, which if you're a Texas State fan, you need to go to the Tuesday game because that's A, when we're going to be at home, and B, we usually win at home and then we go up there and usually get our asses kicked. But yeah, I think we're gonna be okay this year. I don't think that's a hot take by any means.
Oh wow, we're traveling to McNeese to play my cousin Evan Maldonado on May 14th.
I don't think we're traveling to play your cousin. I think we're traveling and your cousin happens to be there.
We're traveling. Hopefully, we bring Evan along with us to shore up our pitching.
This your
That would be
pitch
fun
to-
if you beat a team and you take their best player. You just create your army.
Is your cousin their best player?
No, maybe. I don't know. I
I
haven't.
was gonna say. I was like, this is like pretty.
Maybe.
This is news to me.
I'm gonna McNeese propaganda. Like Zach
Yeah, no
Wilson.
kidding.
Yeah. I'm excited about the baseball team and their season. I was looking for there is the second game. So we play UTSA right at the end of Fiesta for the second time. And then we see them for the first time, I want to say in March 19th. Okay. Yeah. And we play them home and home. those two games will be electric. And then for some reason, we always get enveloped in this UTSA bullshit. I'm sure we'll get just the shot heard around the world. Somebody will take a swing at us and we'll have to defend ourselves online like last year.
Well, it's a good thing that we have like a podcast that we can go on and talk about them
You're
and
right.
vice versa.
Mhm. I've
You think
actually
they're gonna-
written a lot specifically about UTSA. So if you're mean to me online, I actually do cover your team more often than I cover Texas State because I live in San Antonio now. So you're welcome. And UTSA, by the way, this is a headline that they were like, "Oh, we've made all these improvements to UTSA. What is it? Baseball field, whatever. Everybody calls it the bird bath because that's what it looks like, and it's trash. But they put in a new dugout. Somebody was very quick online to point out it is not a dugout, though. It's basically just a shed, field level. Does not dig into the ground, so it's not a dugout. They put out some new stuff. Obviously, all the American Conference signs and stuff like that.
yeah.
Far from the majestic Bobcat Ballpark. Still hard for me to say that name.
They have a tough place to be because they have the worst, one of the worst, if not the worst, basketball stadium in the conference, and maybe potentially in the group of five. And they might have the worst baseball stadium too. So it's like if they want to take this sports stuff seriously, because they put good teams on the field. Like, I'm not gonna lie and say they don't put good teams on the field. They've got to update this stuff, man. They got to get better, like, facilities.
Their baseball team was very good last year, especially early. They kind of fell apart.
Yeah,
They fell apart late last year, but early on, they were amazing.
Yeah. So,
Very good. And they hung like 20 on us, too. You couldn't even talk shit from a Bobcat perspective. And that's why when we went home, and I went to that game, they played over here at UTSA.
who'd you go with?
Not going to bring that up. But lovely game, though. Had good company at the time.
Didn't you get shit talked?
No. When we first walked in, we got a lot of angry stares, though.
Mm.
Thankfully, though, I had gotten into a car crash 2 weeks before then, so I wasn't in my car, and I felt a little safer being in a rental over there.
Got you.
Just let me put it that way.
There you go. Heat.
Let's talk about it. Michael Mann's 1995 crime thriller Heat, baby.
Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer in a Michael Mann film. Heat.
So why are you so drawn to this movie, Jacob?
Number one, because I love Val Kilmer. You and I have talked about it before. Big Tombstone guys.
Wretched slugs. Don't any of you have the guts to play for blood? I'm your huckleberry.
Big Tombstone guys.
So I
I'll
gotta
be your
see
Huckleberry.
every damn movie Val Kilmer's in. I just realized he was in the Doors movie, so I gotta go back.
Yes.
Jim Morrison, the god of rock.
The Doors.
That's one of his best roles.
Really? Damn.
Oh my God, yes.
And the Doors are my favorite band. So
yeah. No, I can't believe that. That is shocking to me that you didn't
actually
know that. And you haven't seen it.
He jumps from the stage, right? And in that movie, there's a bunch of like jump scenes or whatever. But he banged up his elbow, and that's why you can see this ginormous like welt on him in Heat. He still has it. It's just like a deformity now, because I don't know how they treated it back then, but yeah, it looks still crazy. Anyway, Michael Mann's 1995 Heat. Oh, that's true. I guess. Well, he was in I thought he was dead, actually, Val Kilmer. And somebody told me the other day, no, he's still alive. And I was like, oh, it's because in Maverick he died. That's why I thought he died.
Yeah, when fiction becomes reality. Okay, so Heat. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I was put on to this movie, obviously, because Michael Mann teased Heat 2 like a year ago or something, and still hasn't come out. But Al Pacino, Bob De Niro, two dueling protagonists, one detective who the world...
Dueling protagonists or protagonist and an antihero?
No, well, I don't know. I think they're dueling protagonists, honestly.
Really? So you look at Robert De Niro's character and you go like, that's a good guy?
Only because I've seen some of those behind the actors studios interviews with Al Pacino, and he's like, yeah, my character is a cokehead. And that explains the erratic behavior.
Why'd I get mixed up with that bitch?
Because she got a great ass.
And you got your head all the way up it.
So like he's not a good guy because he's sort of a crooked cop. Like he's a cop that's willing to do whatever it takes to win. Also, by the way, I was telling my father about this. My father is obviously in law enforcement. So I was like, they kill like 30 cops in this movie. Just don't even mention it. The entire police department has like the worst day ever. And then they just don't say anything about it the rest of the movie.
Yeah, no. So you got on to Heat because Heat 2 was teased? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
and by the way, if you're trying to watch it, it's free on YouTube with ads. That's also
Yes. Yeah, totally. It's a steal. Did you read the book?
No, there's a book on Heat.
Yes.
Damn.
So, okay.
But then I'm going to get into the whole Godfather situation. The reason I haven't seen The Godfather is because I'm trying to read the book. So you see how I get into these situations sometimes?
I can see where there's a problem there. No, Heat, one of the best Val Kilmer movies by far. I might be Al Pacino's, I don't want to say his best role, but it's pretty up there. I think.
Good.
I
They
think
were both 50 when they made this movie, I think. And
Yeah.
so it's like literally at like I think the height of their career.
What did you think of the ending?
So
I don't
good.
want to spoil anything,
So good.
but okay.
The only thing too, there's a big shootout that happens. There's shootouts that happen throughout the entire movie, but there's a shootout specifically that happens at the end of the movie at an airport. And a big part of it is that planes are still taking off, right? As they're happening. How are flights not grounded? This
Pre 9/11, dude.
9/11 world that we lived in.
Pre 9/11 world. What do you think happens to Val Kilmer's character?
He's free. He
Do
went
you
off.
think he's free, or do you think he got killed?
No, I think he's free.
Okay.
That was one of the better parts.
What about Bob De Niro's character?
He's
What do you
dead.
think happened to him?
He's dead.
He's
100%.
dead? Okay.
Yeah. But
All right.
but what he stood for will live forever.
Okay. If they make Heat 2 into a movie, who would you like to see play the character Al Pacino? Because clearly these characters can't come back. So
Me.
you'd have to recast Al Pacino. You'd have to recast Val Kilmer. Who would you like to see in those roles?
Me as Al Pacino's character. I'm a detective no one understands, and I'm married to my work, baby. That's why I identify with that movie so much, because of this podcast, actually. My life's work now.
Okay. I would pick Jacob DeLore as the Val
Lordy?
Kilmer character. Yeah. Lordy. Yeah.
Bring
Jacob DeLore.
Val Kilmer back.
He can't come back.
His last ride.
He's way out of shape. Could not play his character again.
Nope.
I think it'd be interesting. Or I don't know. And then Joaquin Phoenix as Al Pacino's character.
Dude, Joaquin Phoenix ruins every movie he's ever in, except Her, his best movie.
Yeah. You ever see Lobster?
No. Is that worse than Napoleon? Napoleon was dog shit.
He's not in Lobster. That's what I was
Nobody-
asking.
Nobody waste your money. Don't see Napoleon.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
It's garbage.
Yeah. Okay. Team break.
All hell, Steve Trout. Thanks for squaring.
We ain't got no badges. We don't need no badges. I don't have to show you any stinking badges.
Better not come any closer.
Thanks for listening. New episodes out every Thursday. Follow the boys on Twitter. Eat 'em up. Eat 'em up.